Okay, George, we can take a look at what we get in the box when we order a LumiGrow.
Yeah, so this is the ES330. It's our 330 watt LED fixture. So typically we send it. It comes with an accessory pack, and in the accessory pack you've got your 120 volt power cord, hanger brackets, hangers. And so inside, basically, we've got our fixture, and it's only 12 pounds, Perfect. So it's pretty light. Can you take that box for me?
Sure.
So what we're looking at here is the LumiGrow ES330. We've got the LumiGrow Blue, which is kind of a trademark color for us. You can see the power switch is right here. We've got our blue and red adjustment knobs right there. The IEC connector is right here, so you can just plug that power cord in there and plug it in, turn it on, fire it up. You don't have to wait.
George, it looks like a regular computer power cord. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and depending on what country you're in, you can get a different power cord.
240 or 120.
240 or 120, and get it going. So these hanger brackets actually I installed earlier.
Okay.
But essentially, all you do is it's really great. You know, we designed this unit for commercial applications, and it's really a plug-and-play unit. So I think some of the simplicity and elegance of the LED fixture really shines through when people take it out of the box, they plug it in, they hang it up, and they're running right away. I mean, there's no warm-up time. You don't have to let you don't have to plug in any ballast or set anything up. You just plug it in, and you're ready to go.
The actual component is less than 10 pounds, would you say?
This light fixture is 12 pounds.
12 pounds, okay.
So it's pretty light. I mean, obviously most grow light reflectors, HID reflectors, are already exceeding 12 pounds.
Right.
So
You've got hanging brackets, hanging hooks.
Yeah, hanging hooks, hanging brackets. So you know, you just basically out of the box, you take these brackets, you screw them in.
Perfect.
And then you know, if you've got your grow tent or your table ready, you just basically hang these off. You can use yo-yos, you can use this chain.
Excellent.
You know, and then you're pretty much ready to grow. You know, we recommend that people hang this for a 4x4 coverage area, hang it about 18 inches above, and for a 3x3 you can hang about 12 inches. But plants can grow right up to this fixture because it's not producing any heat.
Correct.
Oh, nice.
That's a huge advantage of LEDs.
So the plants can almost touch the diodes.
That's right.
It has a 120-degree light spread.
This unit puts a little bit of heat out, right? But compared to your HID lights, I mean, that's one of the big reasons people are using LED lights, is because of the heat, as you said.
So we have two knobs here on the front. Looks like we have one labeled red and one labeled blue from a 1 to 10 setting. I'm guessing that has to do with the different colored diodes inside the fixture.
That's right. You can adjust the blue and the red, so you could turn it all the way, turn the red up all the way, dial the blue back. You could, you know, go the other direction, and you can do that to basically experiment with your plants, play with the sort of internode lengths, the flowering, you know. So based on the ratios, different plant species obviously are different and react differently to different ratios of blue and red. So we encourage people to experiment and share their findings. The thermal management of this unit is second to none. It's like we spent a lot of engineering and design thinking and created the thermal management so that it could power these 5-watt LEDs and put out a consistent level of light with a long life at a very high quality that plants will grow to.
What kind of warranties does LumiGrow offer?
Yeah, we've got a 5-year warranty on the ES330.
Excellent.
Yeah, which is it's the best in the industry. You know.
Yeah.
And we can offer that 5-year warranty because of the design of this unit and the quality of the components that we've used.
So right now I'm talking to a lot of people over the phone that are calling in, and they're basically describing 3-watt LED units that they're seeing here on the market. And you guys have the 5-watt LED, which is a little unique. Can you pretty much describe to me some differences?
Yeah, sure. So we use 5-watt LEDs to achieve the highest level of light density in the smallest amount of space. So we're able to do that because of our thermal management and the way we're shunting heat. Other manufacturers don't have as sophisticated of a thermal management, and so they're sort of restricted to using lower power LEDs, so you might not get as high a light density So that's the reason why we're using 5-watt LEDs. It's just to get as much light as possible in the smallest amount of space.
More penetration of light.
Yeah. If you're not managing the heat that these LEDs are producing, because they do produce heat, that LED diode will degrade. Okay. And it won't last as long. And so a lot of people are cutting corners in terms of using cheaper components. For example, they may use fiberglass boards, circuit boards, instead of metal PCBs. We use aluminum PCBs so that transfers the heat off of the LED array, and then that's attached. That LED array is attached to these big aluminum heat sinks, and then we've got 3 fans that are basically blowing cool air over those heatsink fins and shunting all that heat off. And that's why we can use 5-watt LEDs. If you look at some of the other LED manufacturers and you take it apart and you look at their thermal management, they're really not. They're not doing a very good job.
There's not much of a thermal management system at all.
Really.
Start warping.
So what does that equate to in longevity? I mean, obviously, you have something that's not shedding the heat as it's supposed to. We see things warping, we see things oxidizing, and maybe failing over time.
Yeah, they definitely all those things. We're rated at 50,000 hours for these fixtures, and we have lights that have been running for a long time, and they're still producing a high level of output.
We have our LumiGrow unit running at 40%. Let's go ahead and dial it down to its low setting. As you can see, George here.
That's essentially off.
So,
we're at 1.
That's 1. Let's go all the way up to the high setting. Wow.
George, I got a question. Do we have a warm-up time or a startup time to reach full lumens?
No.
It's just almost instant?
Yeah.
Excellent. How about when you switch from red to blue? Can you do that while it's on, or do you have to turn it off?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you don't have to turn it off. You can switch these, you can dial these, play with the ratio.
And what they're doing basically is just depowering each LED based on its spectrum.
Right, we're using the controller, the smart controller, to change the different colors, LEDs.
You're dimming
diodes.
We're
dimming some of the color ratios.
Perfect.
And playing with that.
Let's take a look at the wattage draw. So right now it's at 100%. We got our kilowatt plugged in here. Looks like it's running about 326, 327 watts. Let's go ahead and drop the power down to 50%. And then we'll take a look at the wattage draw.
It has a 5 configuration on the blue. You see it?
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue, and then the reds are just kind of snaking through here a little bit. Now I notice there's a white LED here and here. Is that just to give it a more full spectrum?
That's to hit the secondary plant responses. And that includes triggering certain hormone production. And in addition to that, it helps with the visibility under the lights. So kind of, for the human eye, it helps us sort of see what we're growing a little bit better. So primarily, those diodes are for the secondary plant responses.
And I see 5 blue LEDs and 20 red ones.
There's 5 blue LEDs, 20 red ones, and
side panel,
4 white ones per side panel. So double that on the 330, and then a single panel basically for the 165.
Right. One thing about our fixtures is that they can definitely bring plants to flower and fruit. Like, no problem there. This fixture will take you all the way to fruit and flower.
I like that you can drop it down to 165 watts at 50% power if you have, your starter plants or cuttings. And then as they get larger, of course, increase the power, increasing the light output. And then, of course, you can dial all the way to the blue spectrum for that beginning growth, and then all the way to the red spectrum at the end to get your fruits and flowers to really bulk up.
Some people put a lens on there to concentrate the light, so it appears brighter.
Or to either diffuse it or concentrate it. And this it seems right here, I can see the actual diode. So I don't, there is no, you have absolute diffusion. Yeah. The distinct LED spectrums, right about 4 inches.
So here we're holding a piece of paper about 6 inches from the bottom of where the light output is on the LumiGrow unit.
The blending is perfect.
And we're just trying to get a comparison with some other LED units that we've seen where you would actually see different pinpoints of light with red and blue, having the paper this close. But here with the LumiGrow unit, it's actually a perfectly blended light.
Right at about 4 inches.
Right about 4 inches away, which is pretty incredible. So you guys are having a really awesome light mix coming off these diodes, even at 4 inches away. Right now what we want to show you is a standard LED fixture you might see at your local store, or you might see online. What we want to do here is compare this unit with LumiGrow's unit.
Okay. Well, yeah, we call these pizza box lights, and you see them, like you said, you see them everywhere. And generally, I think the shortcomings of these lights are in their design, thermal management, their low-powered LEDs, and just their general level of manufacturing quality. If I were to, they've got 5 fans here, which is great. They do their best to try to cool their LED arrays, but once you start opening it up and you take a look inside, you realize that these are kind of hastily put together, and they're not using the best components. So let's just quickly take a look at some of the components that they're using.
Wow.
They've got different controllers running it. They've got their 5 fans, inexpensive sort of PC fans that they're running. I mean, if you take a look at how their controllers attach, it's just sort of hot glued into these boxes. And it doesn't inspire the most confidence. If you're growing plants, you want to feel good about the product that you're using, and that it's made from quality components, because you spend a lot of time and care, growing your plants. So
these fixtures aren't cheap; they're more expensive than HID fixtures. So, I mean, it's important that if you're buying something that costs more money, that at least it has somewhat of a decent design. And I'm not really seeing that with this unit. It looks to me like it was pretty, like you said, hastily put together, and pretty quickly designed.
Yeah, and obviously one of the shortcomings here is the thermal management. If you look at this fixture, there's no real heat sink. I mean, yes, there's this big aluminum plate that's probably shunting a little bit of the heat off the LED diodes. But aside from that, there's really not much more going on to compensate for the heat management. Let's peel this away and see what we can't see. All right, so here's a circuit board. This is just a fiberglass circuit board, and the LEDs are sort of mounted on there. You can also see that there's hundreds of these screws that are used to maybe perhaps add an additional layer of a heat transfer, but not the most effective way to transfer heat from a light diode out.
And these actually, the shape of the diode looks a little different from yours.
Yeah, the casing on the light emitting diode here seems to be not so much a diffuser but a magnifier to try to spread that light further. But
so I keep hearing this magnification with diodes. Can you explain a little bit of that to me? Why we're even talking magnification with diodes?
Yes, well, the diode was invented in 1960, and it had back then even the casing had a color put to it, like a dye, to try to match a color. Nowadays, you don't color the casing, the epoxy casing. You don't color it at all. You actually transmit the light is emitted at a certain wavelength, which is the true light. So in this case here, they don't have a dye on the casing, but they try to magnify the light with the casing, kind of like acting like a magnifying glass.
Oh, okay. So that sphere shape, it's acting as a magnifier. Correct. As well. Now, is that a cheat with the product? No, is it a way to make it look more efficient than it actually is?
It's not really a cheat, but it's trying to achieve a certain results. I wouldn't call that cheating, but
It's maybe not the most efficient way.
But it's not the most efficient, correct.
And
sometimes you want light diffused, so instead of rather than magnifying, you want it diffused, so that at a certain distance, like the test we did earlier, at a certain distance you won't get, you'll get a perfect blend rather than discrete light from each one. So it's just a different approach.
And as we talked about before, also the circuit board being a fiberglass, we don't think that something like that could last 10 years. I mean, it's probably a very rare circumstance that we would have that happen.
Yeah, I think this light probably would fail. If any one of these fans failed, I'm pretty sure that you would lose the whole light.
Do you know what wattage fixture this is?
345 watts.
This is a 345 watt fixture. So I don't see it having the same depth penetration that the LumiGrow would have, being the fact that it has 3 watt LEDs versus 5 watt LEDs.
Yeah.
So that's important to know. With your 5 watt LEDs, you're essentially getting the most high powered LED available on the market.
See, these diodes come off the assembly line. They get sorted according to the quality. Just like egg, if you get eggs off of off of assembly line, you're sorting the eggs based on the size and the quality.
Grade A, grade B.
Yeah, grade A, grade B. They do the same with these LED diodes, and what we do is we're selecting the top bin LEDs for use in our fixtures to ensure the highest quality and the highest output. So we've got our regulating power supply here. It has, it's a smart volt technology, so it goes anywhere from 120 to, you can run 120 to 240, just plug and play. It's a power switch here. The fuse is located right here. And you can see, compared to the other light we were just looking at, the quality of components and the assembly and the manufacturing of this unit is of the highest level. It's professional commercial quality. We've got these controllers here that control the LED arrays. I'm going to talk a little bit about the thermal management of the system. Now, if you look at this, this is our LED array. The LEDs are mounted on a metal core PCB, which is a good conductor of heat. So the idea is each of these LED diodes generates heat, and we want to shunt that heat away so that these diodes perform optimally. And the way we do that is we mount them on a metal core PCB. And then this metal core PCB is attached to this really robust aluminum heatsink with these heat fins.
Oh, so it just has the ability to shut all that heat off. In fact, those are pretty big fins for the size panel it is. So.
Right. Yeah. And so then, once the heat goes into these fins, we have the fans in the unit that essentially blow air over those fins. So these fans take in air and shoot them over those fans to cool off the whole LED array. And there's no other LED manufacturer that has this level of sophistication with regards to their thermal management. If something potentially fails, there's sort of a backup. It's designed so that it'll keep running. If one of the arrays goes down, the other array will continue to run, so you're not going to lose all your light. If one of the fans goes down, the other two fans are spec'd so that they will continue to cool the array at an optimal level. Okay. So nothing's going to fail.
So you guys actually have more fan movement in there. You have more air movement in there than you actually need for its longevity. So
that's right.
Kind of overbuilt that part of things, which shows quality in design and quality in manufacturing.
And it's not like the Christmas lights where one bulb dies and the whole array dies.
Yeah, if one of these LEDs go out, I mean, essentially the whole board's going to run. It's just going to be that one diode that's out, but for whatever reason. Of course, we don't expect that to happen because you guys have a quality piece of lighting to begin with.
Right, and we use the highest quality fans that we can buy. They're metal ball bearing fans. And in the event that a fan should fail, I mean, if there was a failure point in the lights, it would probably be one of the fans. We've got these quick connects, and it's very simple just to swap these fans out and plug them back in, and then you're up and running.
The glass component?
This is optical quality plexiglass. It's more or less to protect the light. It's not doing any diffusion. It's just there to protect the LED array.
The tops of your plants grow a little faster than you're expecting them to, and they're not in your garden. They end up touching the fixture. It's not going to be dirtying up the LEDs or the circuit board. Yeah, so it's important to be safeguarding.
And plants can grow up to 4 inches away from this light, and not they're not going to get burned out, which is another benefit of these lights. You can hang them very close to your plants if you wanted. What we're going to do is use the spectroradiometer and look at the red and blue wavelengths and take a look at that and compare the LumiGrow ES330 against a 400 watt was a metal halide HID.
So here we have our LumiGrow 330 running full power. And let's just get a little explanation from George of what we're seeing here on the screen.
Yeah, we're looking at the photosynthetically active radiation output of our light broken down by wavelength. And I just want to show you bin 2 right here and bin 3. That's blue and red. So we have about 26.5 micromoles of blue. Then that's between the 450 and 480 nanometer wavelengths. And then in bin 3, which is the red, we have about 170 micromoles of red and between 620 and 680 nanometers. Yeah, we've got bin 4 and bin 5, and that is near infrared and infrared.
So bin 4 is the near infrared and bin 5 is the infrared.
That's right.
So this is a true depiction of what's going on with the light, wavelength by wavelength, really.
Yeah, and it's relevant because, you know, oftentimes you look in the industry and people talk about lumens. What's the lumen output? Well, that's a totally irrelevant comparison of light, especially when it comes to plants. You know, plants are looking at PAR in specific wavelengths that are matched to their pigments. Chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, phytochrome, so on and so forth.
Right now we're running this Lumatek on the super lumen setting. Of course we have our spectral radiometer, 32 inches from the lighted source, just as we had on the LumiGrow 330. There's our 400 watt metal highlight. This is an Hortilux metal highlight. Look at, we're about 32 inches. Of course, this is our sensor.
It's fiber optic.
It's a fiber optic sensor. It's hooked into a very expensive spectral radiometer. And here's the readout. This is live. Now George, before we were looking at the LumiGrow 330, and of course you're explaining bin 1, bin 2, bin 3, bin 4. Do you mind just doing that again real quick for me?
Sure. Well, each bin represents a different wavelength region, and what we're looking at is bin 2 and bin 3. Bin 2 is the blue, and what we're seeing is that
these numbers are a lot lower than the ones
they're a lot
looking at before.
lower. That's right. We're getting about 11.2 micromoles of blue with between 450 and 480 nanometers.
This bin 2, this is the blue nanometers area. This is the blue area,
yeah,
measured in nanometers. And I'm seeing it's about 11 point something. It's just like quite a different world from what we just saw with the LumiGrow 330. What were we putting out with the LumiGrow?
We had 26 micromoles with the LumiGrow.
So this is actually less than half.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we know blue is an important wavelength for you know, vegetative.
Hold on, can we give the viewers at home a real quick depiction of what's really actually happening? So over here we have a 330 watt fixture. Over here we have a fixture that's not at 400 watts, but is super driven on the super lumens, which I'm guessing is about 440. Let's just call it 400, just to give it safety and security there. So at 400 watts, our metal halide, powered by a digital ballast, is half of the amount of blue output from what we were getting with the LumiGrow. That's pretty amazing to me. Okay.
Yeah, well, let's go on to the bin 3, which is the red wavelengths between 620 nanometers and 680 nanometers. Here with this metal halide light, we're getting about 28 micromoles. That's all right, but on the LumiGrow ES330, we're putting out 169 micromoles of red.
My God. That's not even comparable. Of course, we're running a metal halide, so you know this isn't optimized for red.
The spectroradiometer is pulling from the 600 watt high pressure sodium bulb. So again, here in bin 2, we're looking at, that's the blue spectrum between 430 and 480. We're getting, rounding up about 11 micromoles of blue. And then in bin 3, we've got the red spectrum, and that's 620 to 680 nanometers, and we're getting about 88 micromoles.
It's obviously a lot higher than the metal halide that we had in this HID fixture before. Where were we at with the LumiGrow 330, the 330 watt fixture? Now, folks at home, remember this is a 600 watt HPS we're comparing it with, that we're looking at right now. Where was the LumiGrow 330, George?
Yeah, in the blue, the LumiGrow had 26 micromoles, so that's more than double the amount of blue using the LumiGrow enhanced spectrum. And in the red spectrum, the LumiGrow had almost twice that of this 600 watt high pressure sodium. We had about 170 micromoles.
Wow. So the LumiGrow 330 is outperforming in those key nanometer spectrums that we're talking about that gives the true plant response. The LumiGrow is actually beating at only 330 watts this HPS bulb running at 600 watts. That's pretty amazing.
All right. So George, you know, we talked to a lot of growers on the street, and they're going to ask me, I know I've seen the testing, I've seen the meters, I've seen what they put out, but I want to know, what is it really doing for plant production? I know you've been talking to growers because I know that you guys have a whole plethora of different people that you guys work with, so just tell me what you're hearing on the street.
Yeah, a lot of home gardeners are reporting really good results. They're really happy with the simplicity and elegance, the energy savings of the ES330 and the 165, but more than that, they're really happy with the yield that they're getting. You know, home gardeners on the internet are posting some of their results, and the reports that we've seen are overwhelmingly positive. So we're really excited about that. We've got some basil growers, commercial growers that love using our lights. They say our lights are producing some of the bushiest basil that they've ever grown, and they're delighted with the vegetable production for their leafy greens. And then we have
these are businesses, not people that just grow basil for themselves.
That's right. These are businesses that sell commercial basil and herbs to
so cost and production is obviously a main topic. So they're using this for actual production.
That's right. That's right. And they're having great results.
Wow. Well, that's some information to you folks at home that are still skeptics. They're growing plants under these units. They're turning out beautifully. Go ahead and try one today, especially if you're the gardener that has, you know, multiple lights and you're looking to swap out for different fixtures. Put one in production, you know, test it out.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time, George. We really appreciate you guys inviting us here to your facility, and we appreciate all the time that you've given us. Thank you for letting us use some of your testing equipment. 30 watt unit. We have the 165 unit. Now the 330, what kind of footprint are we looking real quick?
For the footprint, you mean coverage?
Yeah, what kind of coverage area?
Yeah, we're you know, for a 3x3 area, they're great. You can even light a 4x4, but we recommend a 3x3 coverage area for the
max plant production.
Yeah, that's right.
And the 165?
The 165, you know, 2x2.
Okay.
You know, or vegetative starts, small starts. Yeah, really great for that.
All right. And is there anything up and coming with LumiGrow? Do we have? I'm putting my ear to the railroad. Can I hear a train coming? Is there anything new on the horizon?
Oh, there are some wonderful things on the horizon that we're really excited. So you know, stay tuned and keep your ear to that.
The railroad.
The railroad, and
there'll be a train coming.
Yeah, there's a big train coming.
Right on. Well, thanks for the information. We appreciate your time.